Hello, dear Facebook audience. Today's Thursday, approximately 5 p.m., and we're happy to greet you all online at the U.S. Embassy Facebook page. So today we're enjoying the presence of Lila Bashan, USAID Sustainable Development Office Director. Please meet her.
Hi, nice to virtually meet everyone.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about, again, letter writing, but we're going to talk about the types of letters. And I hope that, I'm sure that you've got specific tips and specific advice to share with our audience.
Yeah,
so please welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I spend most of my day writing professional letters because these days we mostly do most of our communication through email, which is basically letter writing. And I know when I started my career in international affairs, I worked for an NGO called Mercy Corps, and I was 19 or 20, and I remember I was talking on the phone, so it's a little different, but I remember getting the feedback like, don't sound so cool. You sound cool, because when you're younger you are cool, and so maybe you use slang, or maybe you use less professional wording. So that's my first advice, is don't sound cool. You don't have to, no one has to be your friend. It's not a popularity contest. So if you're using slang, don't abbreviate words. So I just said don't. Because you're supposed to say do not, or instead of wouldn't, say would not. So you never abbreviate the words. My biggest thing is be consistent. This is my biggest feedback, and it's something that I consistently check on consistency, because I find it aggravating as a reader to not have things be consistent. So if you use the Oxford comma, comma, word, comma, and, or don't. But either way, just be consistent with it. So that's a big one. Don't get into any personal avenues. I recently told a young person in Kashmir that I've been mentoring, don't comment on a woman's appearance, a professional woman's appearance. So make sure to keep it very professional, and not veer into the personal side of things. So that's always important. And then also remember that tone is hard to convey, and it's easy to misinterpret over email or in a professional letter. So be conscious of that. So don't try to be too funny. I mean, this is something that I think is hard for us, but humor can often be misinterpreted as being rude or inappropriate. So just, again, keep it very focused and to the point, but always start with something flowery, like, I hope you're doing well. Yes, it was so nice to see you last week at that meeting. Thank you for taking the time to discuss blah, blah, blah with me. And then you have, the important thing you're trying to get across, and then end it positive again. So I reconfirm our commitment to our joint partnership in ending child labor in Pakistan, or whatever, you write sincerely. I always sign my emails with best, or you can do sincerely, best wishes, cordially, exactly, comma, your name, ideally your title. Yeah.
And sometimes it might be culture specific as well, right? I mean, if you start using specific humor or specific tricks in your letter writing, sometimes it may be misinterpreted in specific cultures, right?
And especially because here all of our official correspondence is then translated either into Armenian or from Armenian. So something that maybe makes sense in English would be harder to translate into Armenian. So that's why it's good to keep it straight and focused and not try to be too charming.
Yes. And the most important thing is to stay inside the business range, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's where not using slang or being consistent in your comma usage, or even things like periods, like making sure that you always have a period at the end of the sentence, these little things. And something I noticed, my staff here at USAID are some of the strongest professionals I've ever worked with anywhere. but I notice a lot of times they don't use the word the when they're supposed to. So as Armenians learning how to write English professionally, make sure to use the before, like, you know, the tree was tall, or
yes.
The is very important.
And one of our main people is saying, like, Karen, if I'm not making a mistake, Parikan. Yes, he's saying that, he says, I believe that in the US, a lot of people use slang.
It's true, yeah, a lot of people do, but a lot of professionals don't or shouldn't. I mean, maybe it's different in the diplomatic corps where we're expected to be very professional, and maybe if you work at an extremely hip tech firm in San Francisco or something, you can write professional letters that aren't that do use slang, but for us, when we're writing, we would never use slang. Even though, I mean, full disclosure, I like to swear in my personal life, but I would never do that in a letter or email or anything to do with my professional life. So I think, you know, as you build your career and as you build who you are as a professional, you learn to separate what you do in your personal life from what you do in your professional life. And I think that's where slang comes in, is you can't use it.
Yeah, of course. And besides, even in Armenian, when we talk like general casual Armenian, we don't implement that language in the business correspondence, because you've got to be specific about how you're speaking, what you're saying, and even the word choice should be very specific.
Yeah, whether it's verbal communication or written, the same is true for both.
Hope that it answers your question, Thermendjan. Yes, thanks a lot for your very important tips. I'm sure that our audience is going to make great use of your tips.
Write lots of good letters.
Yes. Thanks a lot. And your contribution is really great in that matter.
Thank you. Have a good day.
The same to you. Okay, and now we're proceeding to, we're advancing to our actual letter. A question that I want to ask you. I want to know how you are, and if you're fine with it, then you can write about your well-being in the comment field. I am fine, because today's Thursday, which means that we're going to talk about business English, and as we already mentioned, that's business letter writing. So today we're going to draw a distinction line between email writing and regular letter writing, and we're also going to get into the structures of invitations, resignation letters, pay rise letters, confirmations, etc. So a general question, like basic question: what's the best way to write a letter? Should it be an electronic letter, that is an email, or a regular letter that we generally, for example, typed letter? There is no definite answer which one is correct, and at certain instances you need one type, and at other instances you need the other type. The advantage of the email is that it is quick. And you can immediately get the answer to your letter. But at many instances, you have to write typed, printed, and signed letters. And in that sense, emails don't go very far from ordinary letter structures. That is, they again have their salutation, they again have their body, closing, signature, etc. But in case of emails, there are specific fields that are absent in case of ordinary letter writing. And the first thing to comment over, that's the address. So an email doesn't have an ordinary address. That is, it's not a geographical address, but rather a virtual one. Okay, so for example, if my electronic address is like Lilith _Termendjyan at businessenglish.am, for example, that can be my electronic email. When I say underscore, okay, so this very symbol, this one, that's called underscore. And the general one, that is Lilith _Termendjan, is called extension. And after the extension, you have this very symbol. It's this one, okay, which is called an @ sign. What do we mean when we say an @ sign? Basically, it means at the rate of, but in case of emails, it means like the extension at Yahoo, the extension at Gmail, the extension at Hotmail, etc. I'm sorry, I'm a bit ill, so you've got to be excusing today. Okay, after the @ symbol and then the Gmail or Yahoo or anything of the kind, you have a dot. Okay, and then the country code. The country code for Armenia is AM. Okay. One tip from my side: try not to turn to very, very inappropriate email forms. For example, if you're, I'm very sorry. Excuse me. So, for example, if you're saying, if your email extension is Smart Babe, that's not fine for business letters. So generally, try to turn to more business-like extensions. That is, for example, your name or the name of your company, etc. Email addresses may be addressed to one person or to different persons. And sometimes it may happen that, for example, you write an email to specific people, but you want a copy to be sent to another person as well. In that case, you add the address of that person in the part of CC, that is courtesy copy. Okay. And it may also happen that, for example, you want to send a letter to a specific person, but you don't other recipients to see that you're writing the letter, that you're copying the letter to that very person as well. In that case, you can send your email, you can copy the email address of that very person in the field of BCC, blind courtesy copy. Okay. Next comes the subject line. Try to be specific about the subject line and try to choose a subject that would mostly cover the content of your message. For example, summary of our meeting with the Armenian partners, etc. When writing an email, try to turn to more formal style rather than informal, okay? But much depends on the relationship of you and of the business partner. So, for example, I want to come up with specific contrasts. An informal one might sound like, thank you for emailing me on the 15th of February. And its formal one might sound like, thank you for your email dated 15th of February. Or, for example, sorry, I can't make it. It means I'm sorry, I cannot come. And its formal version might sound like, I'm afraid I will not be able to attend. Try not to use emoticons. Okay. And when I say emoticons, I mean such symbols. Okay. Try to avoid them. Okay. I'm sorry. So, try to avoid over-familiar language as well, like our guest said. Abbreviations and like slang or anything of the kind should be excluded. And I'm sorry. Your attachment should not be very long one. It should not be very bulky one. So try to turn to more an attachment. I'm sorry. So try to turn to an attachment which is not more than 5 megabytes. And letters may serve different goals. So letters might be confirmation letters, or letters might be of resignation, of pay rise, etc. Letters of invitation. Writing an effective letter of invitation is not that easy as one can think. And out of just inviting the person, you've got to persuade the person to come to your event, okay? And in such cases, vocabulary is of great importance. First of all, try to, if you're writing in the name of a specific organization, try to introduce the company. For example, you can come up by saying, on behalf of Business English Learning Center, we're writing to invite you to the opening of our, for example, new office in, I don't know, say, Terran Street. Or we and the organization, on behalf of our management, take immense pleasure in inviting Mr. or Ms. and you go on. If that's an invitation to a conference or to an event of the kind, so you'd better give a short description of the organization and then advance to the actual invitation. For example, you might say, we're pleased to announce that we're sponsoring a series of presentations on, for example, marketing management of startups. The presentations are going to be performed by world-renowned experts. Since the company has been a long-standing partner of our company, we would be honored if you could participate in it, etc. You may also verbalize your invitation by saying, we request the pleasure of your company at a reception. Or you may also say, we warmly invite you to, or we're delighted to invite you to, or we would consider it an honor to host you, etc. Invitations contain a lot of details. And aside from the logistics like the address of the venue and the date, you might also need to come up with a dress code that the person should come up in. That can be, for example, a dress code. Let me show you the card. Okay, so that may be business casual or just casual like this, okay? Business casual, casual, etc. Or for example, that may be a black tie or anything of the kind. And sometimes invitations come together with maps, and you've got to introduce the map. And to do it, you can say, please find attached a map of how to get to the place. Or I enclose a map of the venue. And if you need a feedback of your invitation, initiate your readers to do it. And you can do it by saying, please confirm your attendance by, and you come up with the date. Or you can say, please RSVP, and you come up with the date, RSVP by. RSVP is an abbreviation, and that's a borrowing from French, which means répondez s'il vous plaît. In English, it sounds like respond please. And thus you initiate your readers to immediately react to your invitation. And if your invitation is intended and addresses a specific person, and the person cannot give the invitation to another one, you don't forget to say, I'm sorry, don't forget to say invitation is non-transferable. You can close your letter by saying, best regards, sincerely, cordially, and things like that. And invitations, appointments, travels, meetings, and any kind of time-specific tasks generally require that confirmation that I was talking about. So here we've got to deal with confirmation letters. And the specific grammar to be used with confirmation letters is the active voice rather than the passive one. And confirmation letters are not very lengthy, they are not very wordy. And after the greeting, you immediately can proceed to the actual confirmation. And you can say, for example, thank you for your letter of April 4, 2017. We're pleased to confirm that, or you can say, with reference to your inquiry of April 4, 2017, we're writing to confirm our presence or participation or anything of the kind. Or you can just say, this letter is to confirm, or this is to confirm, or I'd like to confirm, etc. Once you have decided to move on from your current job to another one, you need to write a resignation letter, and resignation letters are very important, and you'd better come up with such kind of a letter, first of all, to keep positive relations with your current employer, and mostly they are not very long. They are again very brief, they are simple, and they should be really focused. And your letter of resignation generally includes the information about when you are going to leave your job, that is, when your resignation is going to be effective from. So you can start your resignation letter by, for example, I wish to inform you that I am resigning from my current job. That is, for example, from the job of administrative assistant at, let's say, U.S. Embassy in Armenia, effective, and you come up with the date effective, for example, December 25th, 2017. And you can also thank your employer for the time, for the expertise, and for the efforts that you spent. And you can do it by saying, for example, thank you very much for your help and support over, let's say, 5 years, and for all the opportunities you have afforded me. I wish you all the best in the future. Now we're approaching a type of letters that is very, very important, pay rise letters. These are very important, but at the same time, this is a type of letters that is, people are mostly very uncomfortable talking about. And when I say pay rise letters, I mean pay rise that is the rise in the salary. And in such cases, written letters are very important because they provide your employer with the time not to react immediately. So he will take the time to consider your request and then only then to move on to the actual response. But before coming up with the letter, try to make sure that your salary request is really reasonable, because sometimes, there is no leg to stand on. And when writing a letter of pay rise, first of all, thank the employer for the opportunity to work with him. Then say that you have turned into a really integral part of the company. Then enumerate the accomplishments that you have had while working in that very company or organization, and only after that proceed, go back to the actual pay rise request. You can do it by saying, for example, I'm still working on the initial salary on which we agreed 2 years ago. As I recall, we also agreed to renegotiate my salary based on my accomplishments. Or you can also say, in light of my accomplishments and per our initial agreement, I'm respectfully requesting a pay rise of, for example, let's say like 6 or 10%. And another thing which is really very important, state that you deserve it, and that it is not early to talk about, pay rise. Actually, this is the most important things that I wanted to comment about letter writing, and we've got a number of questions that I want to read them aloud. Karen Parikyan is saying, can you please tell me about IELTS exam and where I can take a few courses and test my knowledge? If I'm not making a mistake, IELTS exam, the organization that is responsible for IELTS exam, that's the British Council of Armenia. So they come up with the courses, and you can take the actual IELTS examination in the British Council of Armenia, the address of which is Alek Manukyan, number 9. We've got another question. Stella is saying, how many sentences you think should contain letter of interest applying for a job? Well, actually, the most specific size for such letters is not more than 1 page, and depending how many and what information you want to include, it much depends on that. But like one paper is fine, and if you don't have too many things to write, then generally try to restrict yourself with 2, not more than 3 paragraphs. So 2 or 3 paragraphs would be enough if you don't want your letter to be very bulky. But try to keep it short, like in the sizes of 1 page letter, if you can do it, because mostly people scan the letters and not everybody reads it till the end. So they read the main message to understand the whole idea. Okay, if that answers your question. We've got another comment. In US, everyone uses old paper mail system. Well, I cannot claim that they use old paper mail system, because emails have penetrated our lives to the extent that we have turned more to emails than ordinary papers. So I think that US is not an exception in this sense, and mostly the general correspondence is carried out and is made through emails. Of course, there are some cases when you've got to come up with ordinary paper letters. We've got another question. Nune is saying, is it correct to say, please accept our order and send us the invoice? Is there another way of saying accept the order? I think that accepting the expression of accepting the order is not a bad one. So I mean, it has nothing to do with like very informal speech. So that's quite fine. You can use it and quite okay. I want to now go to our previous lesson homework, in case you want to check it. So we had a letter to be filled in, and so it runs like, I am writing this letter to you on behalf of Quantum Group of companies with the aim of inviting you to a business meeting between our company to discuss all the terms of agreement for the upcoming business project. The meeting will be held on the 10th of May 2014 at our head branch and would start at 9 a.m. We request you to bring along all the necessary paperwork and supporting documents. We would like to inform you that you are allowed to bring a legal counsel so as to guide you through the process. The meeting will go on for a time span of about 2 hours and would discuss the clauses and conditions of the business partnership contract and its proceedings. If you have any objections or need any change in timing, kindly let us know within 1 day. Looking forward to seeing you. Thank you in advance. Sincerely, Kel Darwins. Okay, so there are requests about my email and my Facebook. I communicate via Facebook, so I'm always active, and you know my Facebook account through the comments. I'm all the time active, so that's actually Liliţ Thermenjyan, and I will write it to you now. And as to my email, if you need my email, then you can write me. I can write it in the comment field as well. That is, I will do it right now for you to see it. So my Facebook name is Liliţ Termendjian. It's this one. You can see it. And my email address is okay, it's this one. So it's in the comment field. Actually, this is all that I had prepared for today. I want to say that we have one more lesson, and that's going to be our final lesson. That's going to be pre-Christmas or post-Christmas. If that's an American one, that is post-Christmas, and if that's a if that's Armenian one, that's pre-Christmas meeting. Our meeting will take place on the 28th of December. I hope to see everybody on that day in front of your computer screens. Okay, so see you on Thursday, 5 p.m. And we've got one more thing that I wanted to comment over. Let me see. So Haikuhi Aghabekyan is saying, is it normal writing urgent as a headline of an email letter if we want to get the answer as soon as possible? I think yes, you can do it if that's really urgent. But I would suggest that together with that urgent, you put a kind of a colon. Colon is this very sign, if you can see it, okay, and you state the main message at least, okay? So in 1 or 2 words, write the title. I mean, like, for example, urgent meeting on this and this and this, okay? I hope that generally this answers all your questions. So hope to see you next week, this day, 5 p.m. Thank you very much for staying with us and hope to see you back. Thank you. Bye-bye.